A man who rang me earlier today was so incensed, utterly incensed by what's going on, certainly in terms of Essex. Russell Quirk, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. I was incensed. And look, that's why, can I just apologise for my sartorial ignorance sitting here in a T-shirt?
You look like you've just come out of Guantanamo Bay. What's going on?
I've just done a shift as a chef.
I don't know what.
It's hard to say, isn't it?
Yes.
Shift as a chef.
What have you done?
Well, no, I left the house this morning ready for some internal meetings in London, and then I got incensed by the Essex Police so-called press conference.
Sorry a second. Sorry.
Are you going to take a call?
Ava, I'm on air. Yeah, I'm on television. It's what are you watching me on television? See you now. It's lovely. I'll speak to you later. Love you. Bye.
Let us know what you think of everything that this man's saying, despite the fact he's being interrupted.
I'm on the television behind her and she's rung me up. What two brain cells? Should be a cactus plant. Right, help me out.
But you answered it. Right, so, look, obviously what you've just talked about with Peter Blexley, well rehearsed, absolutely spot on, and I can't add to it. However, what I would add to is the fact that we shouldn't just see this as an isolated Epping thing where Essex Police are concerned. So we need to remember that Essex Police are the same force under the same Chief Constable and the same Police and Fire and Crime Commissioner Roger Hurst that doorstepped Alison Pearson.
Yep, said that.
Not only doorstepped Alison Pearson, but then went on to another radio station the next day and did not apologise for it, but justified why journalists should have their front doors banged.
Do you know that in 2021, he's now called BJ Harrington, by the way. That's named by Peter Blexley. Yeah, you can't blame me. Do you know in 2021 he said, and I quote, "Hate speech crime is the most important crime in Essex." You live in Essex.
Yeah, I do live in Essex, which is why I'm incensed. So these people are supposed to be protecting us.
Yep.
Roger Hurst, the Police and Fire and Crime Commissioner, this morning has said on his website that he is absolutely determined to make sure that he protects the integrity of asylum seekers. That is what that man has said this morning, right?
But what about this is my thing.
What about legitimate protesters?
There was a wonderful,
what about the public?
There was a wonderful woman on Twitter. Did you see it? The blonde-haired lady walking down with a camera. She's got 3 kids. She's concerned because the school next door to the migrant hotel, there's a guy. He's been here 3 days. He has allegedly, he says he hasn't, sexually assaulted a 14-year-old schoolgirl. The majority of people, not the majority, half of those protesters early doors were women.
Yeah.
Quite rightly in their community saying we don't want this.
Yeah.
It then transpires that BJ Harrington busses in Antifa, stand up to racism, there's a tinderbox, it all happens, bang. Do we not have a right to be concerned about our communities when there are people who are not vetted allegedly coming in and allegedly committing crimes?
Well, we also know from data, and I know for some people on the left, data and facts are rather inconvenient things, but we do know that there are people from certain countries that come here, often illegally, often anonymously, I'll say that again, anonymously, that we know have a higher propensity to commit crime, particularly violent crime and sexual crime. So people, for instance, from the likes of Albania, from Pakistan, from Afghanistan, have a higher propensity to commit sexual crime.
I don't know about that. Is that right?
It's true. It's absolutely true. And this is as a consequence of people like Rupert Lowe forcing the government and the Office of National Statistics to provide such statistics. So the concern, notwithstanding the fact that the person that's been accused of that sexual assault has just been charged, he hasn't been taken through the court process, definitely hasn't been found guilty.
Absolutely.
We should say that. However, the concerns of the public are well made on the basis that there is form, there is history.
Absolutely. Now, there's form and history, but you make the point and we repeat it because it's important. It's the way that you do the job. We don't know if this guy's guilty or not, but my point is not that. My point is a local community has every right. If you go with Mr. Harrington's theory that everybody should protest, you won't like what I'm going to say. Those women should be able to protest, and much as I don't like Antifa, they do as well. The point here is a police force that is supposed to protect us, create harmony and security, on video having denied it, has been proven to bring the two sides together and cause the trouble.
The thing that BJ Harrington is denying is that the protesters, the anti-protesters, the counter-protesters were bussed from the station to
He's now saying they will walk there and bus back.
And I've seen that video. I spent all weekend, because I did a show here, funny enough. Did you know I did a show on Sunday morning?
No, I was watching the grass
I spent a lot of time looking at the footage. I cannot see footage of the police bussing people in. There's lots of footage of the police bussing people out. However, what they did do, and what has been admitted today, is that the police did walk those counter-protesters with masks on. Why? Why do they allow them to have masks on? When, funnily enough, we're not allowing it at the Notting Hill Carnival in a week or two's time because the police want to use facial recognition cameras. Again, another example of two-tier policing. So they did walk those 50 antagonists. I've seen video, and there's lots of it, showing that those counter-protesters, the so-called Antifa protesters, were threatening by way of gesture and shouting the peaceful parents that were protesting outside the Bell Hotel. You can see it. It's on YouTube. It's on Twitter. So the police, knowing that there was an antagonistic situation, knowing also that the protests up to that point outside the Bell Hotel, with hundreds and hundreds of local people that were being peaceful, those protests were completely benign.
They were
utterly peaceful. What do the police think is going to happen when they take a load of left-wing masked thugs right up to the point of the protest?
And what happens, as we said with Peter Bleksley, if the boot was on the other foot?
So you cannot be forgiven, Jeremy, for thinking maybe there is another agenda here, and I think you touched on this just now. It's almost as if the authorities, whoever they are, politicians, police, etc., wanted there to be a flare-up, wanted there to be antagonism, so that, guess what, the next day the media could blame the same old trope as usual, the far right.
Johnny, voice note, Russ, on Epping, go.
Hiya, Jez, it's Johnny from West Yorkshire. I am sick and tired and fed up of this parasitic ideology that's managed to embed itself into all the key aspects of our society: the courts, the schools, the hospitals, the police, the government. It's an absolute disgrace, and it needs to be drawn out like the poison that it is. And to think that they think we're that stupid that will fall for this kind of, these cheap, dirty tricks. It's an absolute insult to our intelligence. And you know what? In the words of the late and forever great Ozzy Osbourne, we are going off the rails on this crazy train, and I, for one, want to get off. Cheers. Bye for now.
Top, man. That's a voice note, isn't
Jeremy, Ben-Julian Harrington as Chief Constable must resign. Roger Hurst as Police, Fire and Crime Commissioner must resign.
Sack them both.
Not just because of this incident over the last 24, 48 hours in Epping, but for the reasons that we set out around Alison Pearce and the fact there was no apology, the fact that the police in Essex think they can doorstep journalists to stop them having their own
but they're not going to. Pete said.
But listen to this as well. I've done FOI requests on Essex Police. This is also the force that last year spent £614,000 on diversity roles. That is the equivalent of 20 police officers that are not on the streets because Roger Hurst and BJ Harrington decided that DEI, equity and so on, and inclusion is far, far more important than actually policing our streets. You also have 1 in 9 police officers in Essex, Jeremy, off on long-term sick at a cost of millions of pounds to the public. Council tax has gone like that in Essex since 2016. Crime is now 25% higher than when Roger Hurst took office in 2016. These people have to go. Sacked, resigned, I don't care which mechanism, they've got to go.
Cool, if you're OK. We'll go to Reigate. Charlie, I'm here with Russell Quirk. What you got? A couple of minutes on drive time.
Jeremy, I've calmed down a little bit now. I can tell you exactly what's going to happen here. This is a plan. So Keir Starmer has got on the phone to old BJ and said to him, roll the Antifa boys up to the protest, let's start some trouble. And do you know why he's done that? Because last night or the night before, Nigel Farage went on telly and told the nation that there was going to be civil unrest, and it's coming. So that when it does kick off, and it will kick off at some point. Listen, I've been mixed up in something like this before. I'm not going to go over that, but something really, really similar to this. When it kicks off, Starmer's going to point his finger at Farage and say, "See, told you so. He started that."
Let me just do what I have to do as a responsible broadcaster. But you know me, I'm straight, right? I can't say that happened or didn't happen. I can't get involved with what you've said, but I will say this. I don't believe in violence, but I tell you, I completely agree with Bleksley. Unless the political class get their heads out of their backsides and realise that it is not going to wash to simply say, all these protesters are far right or far left or whatever. The British people have had enough of being cajoled, lied to, led down a garden path, and now bankrupt financially and watched their public services being taken advantage of by people who shouldn't be in this country. And I don't believe in violence in any which way. I believe in the power of the vote and I believe in democracy. But I will say this, if our politicians don't understand the severity of the concern, Russ, they're missing a trick. And why Nigel Farage, right, is generating the support he is, as I said at the beginning, thanks Charlie, is that he is speaking about the things that people... Do you know in the old days, don't laugh at me, Jode, right? Well, I did a radio programme for years, a phone-in radio station that was massively successful called Confessions, and people would say that I would sit on the drive and listen because he said the things that I was thinking. Nigel Farage, this is me as a voter, right now, talks about the things that I as a voter am concerned about. I don't hear it from Badenoch, I don't hear it from Starmer, I don't even know who the hell Ed Davey is, but I'm being completely serious. Now, I don't know whether it would be any good if he gets in, whether there's meat on the bone. But don't disrespect the British people, because the British people have had enough.
No, and you know, unfortunately, and again, I'll be cautious here, we are now starting to see more and more protests. So apparently in Norfolk, day before yesterday, another alleged migrant hotel.
Canary Wharf in London.
Canary Wharf, the Britannia Hotel. That's costing, by the way, £80 per migrant per night, and that is, I checked on booking.com yesterday, that hotel has been taken by the government for months and months in advance. So 600 rooms, 2 people in it, so 80 quid a room, blah, blah. It's millions and millions of pounds that the government have committed to paying for the Britannia Hotel just to put migrants in. Whether they're coming from the Bell Hotel or not, I don't know. But they have still booked out that 4-star hotel in Canary Wharf for the long term at a cost of millions of pounds to the taxpayer, rather than solving the very problem at source, which is to not let them in the first place. One other point, just quickly, because you're bound to throw me out in a second. What I think is fascinating about what's happened in Epping and BJ Harrington's pathetic press conference this morning,
dreadful,
where he says, look, it's up to us to ensure that the public can protest. No, it isn't. The police do not have an obligation to ensure that people protest. They have an obligation to make sure that things are peaceful, and actually driving those counter-protesters to the other protesters was the opposite of doing that. But what did the police, the Met Police in particular, do when it came to the St George's Day protests, the Southport protests, the Patriots at Remembrance Day last November, trying to exercise their right and their freedom of speech? What did the police do in those instances? They kettled people. They stopped them getting to the counter-protesters. Why didn't they do that in Epping yesterday?
Couldn't agree more, mate. Could not agree more. We appreciate it. He was so angry because he lives in Essex that he came in all the way from... And, I mean, listen...
Yeah, but it's the council tax we pay to the police authority, and we never see a police officer. Crime is through the roof. You know the detection rate for rape in Essex? Guess what it is? The detection rate, 3%. 97% of rapes.
I've got another hour to do.
97% of rapes.
Angry.
People get off scot-free.
Next time you come in, don't wear such a tight T-shirt. I'm being
You like
serious.
it, don't you?
Not really. Thank you for coming in. We love him. Russell Quirk on a television and radio near you very soon.